In the wake of the FBI's recent investigation into Mike Wolfe's mansion, a series of unsettling discoveries have emerged, casting a shadow over the legacy of the American picker star. The operation, which began as a routine inquiry, quickly escalated into a complex case involving hidden artifacts, secret chambers, and potential links to international art theft. The initial breakthrough occurred when agents removed the old wooden floor of Wolfe's private office, revealing a concealed space beneath. This hidden room contained a trove of rare artifacts, some bearing labels from European museums and others listed as missing by Interpol. The discovery of these items suggested a clandestine operation that may have spanned continents and decades. Further investigation led to the unearthing of a spiral wooden structure beneath a cement layer, indicative of ancient religious architectural styles. Within this space, agents found a steel trapdoor leading to a stone-walled chamber. The air was damp and tinged with a burnt smell, and the room housed dozens of rare artifacts, including Eastern European wooden sculptures and stone reliefs with unidentified markings. A particularly disturbing find was a photo frame turned face down, covered in dried blood and dust, containing a picture of Frank Fritz, Wolfe's former co-host. On the wall, a symbol, a double spiral surrounding an eye, was drawn in an unidentified substance, suggesting ideological significance. The investigation also uncovered discrepancies in Wolfe's renovation plans, with the second floor of his mansion, previously a bell tower, being completely sealed off. This raised questions about the authenticity of the renovations and the true purpose of the hidden spaces. As the FBI delved deeper, they discovered a journal belonging to Frank Fritz, detailing his suspicions about Wolfe's activities. Fritz recounted strange noises from the ceiling during a stay at Wolfe's house and noted that certain artifacts were being moved without documentation. The journal ended with a chilling note. "If anything happens to me, this notebook is the reason." The investigation expanded to include a warehouse once shared by Wolfe and Fritz, where a suitcase marked FF contained Fritz's personal journal. The entries chronicled his thoughts and experiences in the final years before his departure from the media, highlighting his growing concerns about Wolfe's secretive behavior. Data extracted from Wolfe's personal hard drive revealed a detailed plan for maintaining his public image while potentially engaging in illicit activities. An audio clip captured Wolfe's voice saying, "If he talks, I'll lose everything," followed by a cold laugh. This, coupled with the discovery of a folder titled Echoes of the Past, containing scans of old manuscripts and lists of private buyers, suggested a sophisticated network dealing in rare, often stolen artifacts. The case took a further twist when a letter arrived at an FBI office postmarked from Montana, containing a photo of Frank Fritz sitting on a bench, appearing weary but alive. The background showed pine trees and a sign reading Lark Hill, a location not found on any nearby maps. This raised questions about Fritz's fate and whether he had been silenced or was in hiding. As the investigation continues, the public is left grappling with the possibility that the beloved television personality may have been involved in a complex web of art theft and deception. The story of Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz serves as a cautionary tale about the hidden depths that can lie beneath even the most familiar facades. The ensuing days unraveled like a slow-motion landslide, each hour revealing a new layer of buried truth that threatened to smother the last shreds of innocence the public had once attached to American pickers. The FBI, now collaborating with Interpol and private art crime units from France and Germany, had expanded the investigation into an international probe. Evidence recovered from Mike Wolfe's mansion had created shockwaves across the antiquities world. Not only were there items missing from museums in Krakow and Florence, but experts from the British Museum were called in to examine a medieval illuminated manuscript, one thought destroyed in a World War II bombing raid, found wrapped in burlap beneath a rotting beam in Wolfe's wine cellar. Authenticating the artifact caused internal tension among curators, many of whom refused to believe that something so sacred could have been lying beneath floorboards on an Iowa estate belonging to a television personality. Yet here it was, centuries old and bound with human hair, its ink still glistening beneath forensic lighting. In an even darker twist, the FBI discovered a stone artifact engraved with ancient script, Proto-Sumerian, according to linguists, alongside. A folded robe made of deep violet silk with gold thread embroidery that spelled out a phrase translating to "those who guard the veil." The implications were staggering. Wolfe's private chamber was starting to look less like a collector's haven and more like the lair of someone involved in a secretive, cult-like order. The double spiral symbol began appearing in other places, too. On a ring recovered from his safe, etched into the wood of a desk drawer, even scratched into the base of an antique mirror in his guest bathroom. Some speculated it was merely a collector's eccentricity. Others, especially the criminal profilers brought in by federal authorities, weren't so sure. As journalists and digital sleuths dug into Wolfe's past, anomalies emerged. An old episode of American Pickers was flagged for review after fans noticed Wolfe lingered on a Roman-era ceremonial dagger longer than necessary, whispering something indecipherable when he thought the mic was muted. When slowed and enhanced, the audio revealed the phrase, "Guard it with the bones of the loyal." The same dagger, coincidentally, was not catalogued among the show's publicly documented picks and was now presumed to be among the missing artifacts listed by the Caribbean Art Squad in Italy. Then came the surveillance footage. A local resident in LeClaire, where Wolfe's original shop was based, handed over a USB drive containing security camera clips from 5 years prior. In the grainy footage, Wolfe is seen arriving at the shop in the dead of night, not once but on several occasions, often alone and wearing gloves. On one particular night, the footage captures him entering the rear door carrying what appears to be a shrouded figure slumped over his shoulder. No reports of break-ins or staff emergencies were filed during that time. The FBI later revealed that same night coincided with Frank Fritz's sudden and unannounced leave from the show, a disappearance previously attributed to health concerns. Now, with the discovery of Fritz's blood-stained photo frame and his cryptic journal entry, those coincidences could no longer be ignored. It wasn't long before the story took a strange and unnerving turn toward the paranormal. A former production assistant who worked during season 18 contacted the press, alleging that unexplained phenomena were commonplace on set. Equipment would power off inexplicably, antique items would move between takes, and once, a mirror in an old Arkansas barn shattered just as Wolfe stood before it, reciting what she described as a Latin prayer or spell. She claimed Wolfe changed over the years, his eyes darker, his temper quicker, and his obsession with the veiled past becoming all-consuming. He talked about time as though it was something you could fold, she said, and kept referring to a book that had to be kept hidden from the light. Back at FBI headquarters, analysts working through Wolfe's email server stumbled upon a correspondence chain that made everyone in the room go silent. The emails were between Wolfe and an unknown recipient operating under the alias Janice. Their conversations weren't transactional, they were poetic, fragmented, sometimes encrypted, but always themed around the acquisition of artifacts imbued with what they described as psychic weight. One email read, "The obelisk fragment pulses under moonlight. We mustn't let the Vatican know it's here." Another referred to an auction in Istanbul where Wolfe supposedly bid anonymously on the Mirror of Lilith, an artifact whose very existence is doubted even by most experts. Whether these emails were real, a form of elaborate role-play, or the ramblings of someone deep in delusion was unclear. What was clear, however, was that Wolfe's obsession had far exceeded the boundaries of casual antiquarianism. By the third week, media frenzy had reached critical mass. Talk shows, podcasts, and YouTube channels dissected every aspect of the scandal. Former co-stars and production crew were being hounded for interviews. Danielle Colby, Wolfe's longtime associate on the show, released a carefully worded statement, saying she was shocked, saddened, and deeply unsettled by the revelations, but offered no additional insight. She was later subpoenaed to testify before a federal grand jury, as was the assistant director of American Pickers and a retired customs agent from Chicago who had once cleared shipments for Wolfe's international returns. Public sympathy for Wolfe began to fracture. Fan forums once devoted to praising his eye for treasures became war zones of conspiracy and outrage. Some claimed he was being framed. Others suggested Wolfe had been groomed by an underground society bent on reclaiming relics from ancient civilizations, for purposes unknown. But for law enforcement, the focus remained on evidence and motive. Why had Wolfe concealed so much? Was it profit, passion, or something far stranger? And perhaps most pressing, where was Frank Fritz?